Every now and then I'd have people tell me like, oh man, he really like talks about you. So I didn't really know what it was until a special came out and I watched and I was like, oh wow, that's a very big picture of me. And there's another very big picture of me.
Welcome to Chippendales. Fantastic. Can we call it a true crime series? Is that a fair?
I think so. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just the crime, but it is based on a series of true crimes.
Absolutely. My mom loves Dateline, and she knew all about this.
See, I did too, but my wife does not. So
don't tell her.
No, we've been watching it together, and that's I was talking to Robin and Quentin before, and I was telling them, I was like, I'm sitting there like, because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah. How far have you gotten into it?
We are halfway. We're halfway.
And is your wife into it?
And she loves it. Okay. Yes. We were like earlier today, she was like, I really like that show.
That's great.
And I should actually be like, this should be much more serious, but I'm just going to like tell you this. So my wife is a huge fan of yours, Annaleigh. And when I told her that you were in the show, she was like, oh, I love her. And then when we were watching it and the episode came up when you first show up, she's just sitting there and just very quietly, I hear her, she's staring right. She just goes, I love her.
That's so well, tell her I love her too. That's the sweetest.
Your wife has great taste.
Oh.
Kumail, let me ask you this, man. The show is a fiction. It's a dramatized version of the true story, but there's a lot of information sort of unknown. Did that give you some wiggle room to kind of like help flesh out the characters a little more?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look into the soul of the real Steve Banerjee, and so that wasn't ever my task. I wasn't like, I have to figure out what made that real person tick. My job is to figure out how to play this character as written. And the fact that we don't know that much about him beyond what other people have said about him and the things that we know he did, those are just sort of the starting points, you know. So for me, it was like, how do I play a character who does all these things that we know he did, but do them in a way that so that it makes sense for someone like him to do, and how can I start him so different in many ways from how he ends up, but also similar, So that's why in the beginning he sort of hopefully comes across as very innocent and enthusiastic, with almost like childlike wonder, and then we see how that changes over the course of the season.
You very much sympathize, I think, with Steve early on. I know that I did, and at this point still do. I'll say,
yeah, things aren't so bad,
right? Yeah, and it's going to be fine if I stop.
The worst is behind us.
Yeah. Annaleigh, I guess I want to ask, I guess that's the similar question for you, because with Irene, we know kind of even less, where there's really not a whole lot of information out of it. I did some research on my own and I was like, wow, there's just not hardly anything out there about Irene. So was it easier for you? I know you've done, I think, Kumail, was this your first time doing starring as like a real person?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, other than 𝐒𝐏𝐿.
Other than 𝐒𝐏𝐿, who is also real.
Also very real.
Lives among us.
He is real to Jack Tapper, my son.
But Annaleigh, you have done this before. You have played like a real person before.
Yeah, I've done it multiple times. Most recently, I played Paula Jones, who is somebody that was really identifiable, somebody that I had to feel and look like, and also help change the narrative of the way that we felt about her. So in this instance, I could find one photo of this person. And so I was really able to really create her out of kind of nothing from what, Rob created on the page. And then we really wanted to make sure that she not only complemented Steve's arc and helped him on his journey, but also she had her own arc. We need to watch her change and grow. And also, she's the woman behind the man. She's using their relationship and their partnership to express herself in her own interests, which is the business world. And then I think it's really important that we see her love him, because then we're able to love him too.
One thing that came up when I was chatting with Robin and Quentin was how Quentin was joking about some of his friends not wanting their wives or girlfriends to watch the show because it's like sexy men dancing and all that. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't really register for me, because like for me it just seems like a very like tense sort of like dramatic show. It's a misconception for people to think they see Chippendales that this show is just a bunch of salacious dancing and all that. It's way more than that.
I think that's sort of a metaphor for what this story is. When you first look at the Chippendales dancers, you're like, oh, fun, cuffs and collars, and then underneath the surface, there's a lot going on. You pull off those pants, and there's hairy legs.
They're very good at pulling off those pants. You really feels like you're
You
there.
like my metaphor?
Speaking of that in some manners, I want to ask you a question, Kumail. I don't know if you've answered this question before or not, but I really want to ask it. Did you know that 𝐿𝐴SN was going to have that picture of you in his special? Like, had you any clue? Did he tell you beforehand, or was that a surprise to you too?
It was a surprise to me. He did not tell me beforehand. I knew a little bit because he'd been touring, and I assume he'd been doing it on tour. So every now and then I'd have people tell me like, oh man, he really like talks about you. So I didn't really know what it was until his special came out, and I watched it, and I was like, oh wow, that's a very big picture of me. And there's another very big picture of me. But you know what? It was really funny, and he said like ultimately very nice things about me. So I was like, thank you. I haven't like talked to him since that happened, but I had no idea. I was just like, wow, that's a lot of me out there.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny personally myself.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was really
good.
funny. He said way nicer things about me than he did, some of the other people, so I'm okay with it.
You got off light.
Yeah, I got off great.
Welcome to Chippendales. It kicks off on Hulu November 22nd.
Yeah, tell your wife I said hi.
Yeah.
I will.
And I hope you both like the next 4 episodes.